Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the bridge window of the TSF Defiance, watching the red dots on her screen grow larger by the minute. Each dot was an enemy ship. Each ship carried enough firepower to turn a planet into dust. There were 3,000 of them behind her. Officers worked at their stations with quiet desperation. No one spoke about the numbers. Everyone knew. Humanity had 300 ships. The enemy had 10 times that many. Admiral called Lieutenant Torres from the communications desk. Earth Command is asking for our status. Sarah did not turn around. Tell them we are holding position at Jupiter's orbit. Tell them we will buy as much time as we can. She knew it would not be much time. Be 6 hours, maybe less. The enemy called themselves the Hegemony. 12 different alien species had joined together under their rule. They had conquered half the galaxy over the past 10,000 years. They moved from system to system like a plague, demanding surrender or delivering death. 3 months ago, they had sent their message to Earth. The words were simple: submit or die. Humanity's answer had been just as simple: no. Now the price of that answer was coming to collect. Admiral Chen, another voice called. This one belonged to Commander Rodriguez, her tactical officer. Enemy fleet will be in weapons range in 4 hours and 27 minutes. Sarah nodded. 4 hours. That was how long humanity had left. She thought about Earth, hanging blue and beautiful behind them. 7 billion people lived there. They had families, dreams, children who still believed in happy endings. None of them deserved what was coming. The Hegemony did not take prisoners. They did not allow surrender once the fighting started. They would burn every human city, destroy every human ship, and erase humanity from the galaxy like it had never existed. Admiral Torres called again. We have an incoming message from Luna Base. It's Dr. Webb. Sarah turned. Dr. Marcus Webb ran the secret research facility on the moon. For 5 years, he had been working on projects so classified that even she did not know the details. She only knew that Earth Command gave him unlimited funding and asked no questions. Put him through. The main screen flickered, showing a thin man with wild gray hair and tired eyes. Behind him, Sarah could see the chaos of a laboratory in crisis. People ran back and forth, carrying equipment and shouting orders. Admiral Chen Webb said, his voice tight with strain, I need to speak with you privately. Sarah looked around the bridge. Everyone was listening, and for hours they would all be dead anyway. Doctor, with respect, we don't have time for secrets anymore. Webb was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. You're right, Admiral. My team has been working on something. A ship. It uses technology that should not be possible. Should not be possible how? It breaks the laws of physics. It exists in quantum superposition. It can be in multiple places at the same time until someone observes it. When that happens, reality has to choose which version is real. Sarah stared at him. Doctor, are you telling me you built a ghost ship? I'm telling you we built something that makes ghosts look ordinary. The problem is, we've never tested it in real combat. We don't even know if it will work. The mathematics say it should, but mathematics and reality don't always agree. On the tactical display, the red dots crept closer. Sarah could see the largest ones now, massive battleships that could crack moons. Each one was 3 times the size of her biggest ship. Does it have weapons? She asked. Yes, quantum torpedoes. They exist in all possible trajectories at once. When they hit a target, they don't just destroy it. They make it so the target was never there to begin with. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. That's impossible. 6 months ago, I would have agreed with you. But we're living in impossible times, Admiral. The question is, do you want us to launch it? Sarah looked at her tactical officer. Rodriguez was staring at the screen with the expression of a man watching his own execution. She looked at Torres, barely 22 years old, with a photo of her parents taped to her console. She looked at every face on the bridge, good people who had volunteered to die for their home. What's the ship called? She asked. The Paradox. How long until it can launch? It's ready now. We just need your authorization. Sarah thought about the word paradox, something that contradicted itself, something that should not exist but did anyway. It seemed fitting. Dr. Webb, she said, launch your impossible ship. Webb nodded. Admiral, I should warn you. When the paradox engages the enemy, things are going to get very strange very quickly. Our sensors might not be able to track what's happening. Reality itself might become ... flexible. Doctor, reality has been flexible since the day we decided to fight a galactic empire with 300 ships. Launch the paradox. The screen went dark. Sarah turned back to the window. In the distance, she could see the first flashes of enemy engines. Soon, they would be close enough to begin the slaughter. But now, somewhere in the darkness between Earth and the approaching fleet, something impossible was stirring to life. Something that existed and did not exist. Something that would either save humanity or prove that hope itself was just another word for delusion. Either way, they would know. The answer soon enough. The TCS paradox emerged from Luna's hidden shipyard like something from a fever dream. Captain Alina Vasquez had seen many ships in her 20 years of service. But nothing had prepared her for this. The hull shimmered with colors that had no names. Light bent around its edges in impossible ways, creating rainbow patterns that hurt to look at directly. The ship seemed solid one moment and translucent the next, as if it could not decide whether it wanted to exist. Captain, said her navigator. Lieutenant Kim Park, our sensors are giving me readings that make no sense. According to this, we're in 3 different locations at once. Alina strapped herself into the pilot's chair. The interface was unlike anything she had ever seen. Instead of buttons and screens, there were surfaces that felt warm to the touch and responded to thoughts rather than commands. Don't trust the sensors, she said. From what Dr. Webb told me, normal instruments can't track what we're about to become. The ship's computer spoke in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Captain Vasquez, quantum field generators are online. Reality anchor systems are stable. You're ready to enter superposition state. Alina took a deep breath. She had volunteered for this mission, knowing she might not come back. What Webb had not told her was that she might stop existing entirely. Computer, begin quantum phase transition. Universe exploded into possibilities. One moment, Alina was sitting in a normal pilot's chair on a normal ship. The next moment, she was sitting in the same chair on a ship that existed in 17 different dimensions simultaneously. She could see through the hole to the space outside. But that space was not space as she knew it. There were layers upon layers of reality, stacked on top of each other like sheets of glass. In one layer, the paradox was racing toward the enemy fleet at impossible speed. In another, it was sitting motionless near Earth. In a third, it was inside one of the enemy ships, occupying the same space without touching anything. Captain, Park called out, his voice sounding strange and echoing. I can see the enemy fleet, but they're different in each layer of reality. Alina looked at her tactical display. The screen showed the hegemony ships approaching Jupiter's orbit, but now she could see them from perspectives that defied understanding. She could see inside their hulls, see the alien crews at their stations, see the weapons charging for the attack on humanity's fleet. But more than that, she could see the probability threads that connected every moment to every possible future. She could see the paths where humanity died, the paths where they survived, and the paths that led to outcomes no one had imagined. Computer, show me our weapons status. Quantum torpedo systems are armed and ready. Warning. Firing these weapons will collapse several probability matrices. The target will experience retroactive non-existence in approximately 67% of all possible timelines. Alina stared at the display. Are you telling me that our torpedoes don't just destroy enemy ships? Correct, Captain? Our weapons remove the probability that the target ever existed. From the perspective of this universe, it will be as if they were never built, never launched, never crewed. The implications hit her like a physical blow. They were not just going to kill the enemy. They're going to erase them from history itself. Captain Park said, his voice tight with fear. The enemy fleet is beginning their attack run on Admiral Chen's ships. They'll be in weapons range in 6 minutes. Alina could see it happening across multiple layers of reality. Some timelines. The human fleet fought bravely but was destroyed within an hour. In others, they managed to take a few enemy ships with them before being overwhelmed. In all of them, Earth burned. All except the timelines where the paradox acted. Computer target the lead enemy battleship. It's a big one in the center of their formation. Target acquired. Quantum torpedo ready to fire. Warning. This will be our first live test of the weapon system. Results may vary from theoretical predictions. Alina thought about Admiral Chen and her brave crew, buying time they did not have with lives they could not spare. She thought about Earth, hanging defenseless behind them. She thought about every human who had ever lived, ever loved, ever hoped for something better. Fire. The torpedo launched, but it was unlike any weapon Alina had ever seen. Instead of streaking through space in a straight line, it followed every possible path to its target at the same time. It curved around obstacles that existed in some realities but not others. It passed through dimensions that had no names. When it reached the enemy battleship, reality had to make a choice. The ship simply vanished, not destroyed, not exploded, not reduced to debris. It was simply no longer there, and looking at the space where it had been. Alina could not remember why she had expected anything to be there in the first place. The enemy fleet's formation wavered. Where their lead ship had been, there was now just empty space. Their sensors showed no explosion, no debris field, no trace that anything had ever existed in that location. Computer, did we just ... Yes, Captain? The target ship never existed? Its crew never joined the hegemony. The resources used to build it were never mined. Plans for its construction were never drawn. It has been removed from the timeline entirely. Alina felt sick. They had not just killed the enemy crew. They had erased them so completely that their families would never know they had existed to begin with. But the enemy fleet was still coming. Hundreds of ships, each one carrying enough firepower to glass a continent. And now they had seen what humanity could do. Captain Park said, "Enemy fleet is breaking formation. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "What are they saying?" Park looked at his communications panel with disbelief. "They're asking what we are." Admiral Kethfer of the hegemony's Third Fleet had conquered 17 star systems in his long career. He had seen weapons that could melt planets and shields that could stop black holes. He had watched entire civilizations kneel before the might of the hegemony's endless armadas, but he had never seen anything like this. "Fleet Commander," his tactical officer called out, her voice shaking. "The Earthers have destroyed the Relentless." Kethfer looked at his main display. The massive battleship that had been leading their attack formation was gone. Not damaged, not disabled. Gone. Where it had been, space showed nothing but stars. "Me, the debris field," he ordered. "Sir, there is no debris field. There's nothing. Our sensors show empty space where the Relentless was positioned." Kethfer's four eyes narrowed. "That's impossible. Ships don't just disappear. Show me the weapon signature." His weapons specialist, a nervous Krex engineer, worked frantically. At his console, "Sir, I'm reading energy patterns that don't match any known technology. The weapon seems to have come from multiple directions at once. Our computers are showing error messages. They can't process what happened." On the communications channel, panicked voices filled the fleet network. Ship captains were reporting sensor failures, impossible readings, and crew members who swore they remembered a ship that their computers said had never existed. Fleet Commander called his communications officer. "The human fleet is hailing. Us put them through." The screen showed a human female with short gray hair and tired eyes. Behind her, Kethfer could see the bridge of what appeared to be a standard military vessel. Nothing special. Nothing that suggested the power to erase ships from existence. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Coalition," the human said. "You have seen what our new weapon can do. I am offering you one chance to withdraw from this system peacefully." Kethfer felt his rage building. No inferior species had ever made demands of the hegemony. "Human, you destroyed one ship through some unknown trickery. We have nearly 3,000 vessels. Your trick will not work twice." The human admiral smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Admiral Kethfer, Our weapon doesn't just destroy ships. It removes them from reality. Your battleship never existed. The crew you think you remember? They were never born. Their families never knew them. Check your records. Kethver turned to his data officer. Bring up the personnel files for the Relentless. The officer worked at his console for several minutes, his expression growing more confused. Sir, I cannot find any records of a ship called the Relentless. Ow. Our fleet roster shows no such vessel. But I have memories of serving alongside its captain for 15 years. A chill ran down Kethver's spine. That's impossible. Admiral the Human continued, we can erase your entire fleet the same way, ship by ship, timeline by timeline, till none of you ever existed. Your families will never mourn you, because they will never have known you. Your victories will never have happened. Your empire will have conquered nothing. Behind Kethver, his bridge crew was growing restless. Several officers were checking their personal data devices. Looking for records of friends and colleagues they remembered but could no longer prove had existed. Sir, his tactical officer whispered, long-range sensors are detecting another energy signature. It's the same impossible readings. Something is targeting our second battleship. Kethver looked at his fleet display. The Dominator, pride of the hegemonies. Second Fleet was moving into attack position. Its captain, war leader Thexmel, was known for his ruthless efficiency. He would not be frightened by human tricks. All ships, open fire on the human fleet, Kethver ordered. Ignore their weapon. Destroy them before they can use it again. But even as he gave the order, he saw another impossible torpedo streak across space. This one moved through dimensions that his eyes could not properly see. It seemed to be traveling toward the Dominator and away from it at the same time. It appeared solid, then transparent, then something that was neither and both. The Dominator opened fire with everything it had. Plasma beams, fusion missiles, graviton warheads, enough destruction to level a continent. All of it passed harmlessly through the torpedo as if it were not there, then the torpedo reached its target. The Dominator vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply gone. In one moment it was there, firing its weapons and broadcasting war leader the Smell's defiant battle cries. The next moment, there was empty space. Sir, his data officer called out, panic clear in his voice, I can't find any records of the Dominator either. According to our files, it was never built. But I remember its commissioning ceremony. There, across the fleet network, chaos erupted. Ship captains were reporting the same thing. Memories of ships and crews that their computers insisted had never existed. Some officers were beginning to question their own memories, wondering if they themselves were real. Fleet Commander, his communications officer, said, we're receiving surrender requests from 12 ships. Their captains are asking permission to withdraw from the battle. Ithar stared at the tactical display. 2 of his most powerful battleships had been erased from existence. The human fleet, outnumbered 10-1, was calmly maintaining formation as if they had already won, which he realized with growing horror they had. Sir, his sensor operator called out, I'm detecting the strange energy signature again. Multiple contacts this time. Human ship is targeting our entire front line. Kethver looked at the display and saw 5 impossible torpedoes streaking toward his fleet. Each one followed a path that defied physics, existing in multiple locations simultaneously. Until they reached their targets, 5 more ships vanished. 5 more crews erased from the timeline. 5 more victories that had never happened. All ships, Kethver said, his voice barely above a whisper, cease fire. Fall back to minimum safe distance. But he knew there was no safe distance from a weapon that could rewrite reality itself. The humans had not just built a better gun, they had broken the rules of existence and turned the universe into their weapon. For the first time in 10,000 years of conquest, the hegemony faced an enemy that could make them simply cease to be. And looking at the calm confidence of the human admiral on his screen, Kethver realized that this was only the beginning. News of the impossible human weapon spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. In the dark reaches of space, Alien commanders received reports that made no sense. Ships vanishing without trace, crews erased from existence, an entire fleet of 3,000 vessels retreating from 300 human ships. On the forge world of Krell Prime, master shipbuilder Voxera read the tactical reports for the 5th time. For 800 years, her people had built the hegemony's greatest warships. She had designed hull armor that could survive supernovas and weapons that could crack moons in half. None of it mattered now. Impossible, she muttered, her 6 arms working frantically at multiple displays. Matter cannot simply cease to exist. Energy cannot be destroyed. These reports violate the fundamental laws of physics. Her assistant, a young engineer named Cravel, looked up from his workstation. Master, what if the humans have found a way to work outside those laws? Voxera turned all 4 of her eyes toward him. There is no outside the laws of physics, apprentice. The universe has rules. They cannot be broken. But even as she said it, she felt doubt creeping into her mind. The Xanthari had always prided themselves on understanding the deepest secrets of matter and energy. They had built ships that could fold space and weapons that could manipulate gravity itself. But this, this was something else entirely, Master Kryvel said quietly. Perhaps it is time to speak with the humans, to learn from them. Voxera was quiet for a long moment. The idea of learning from a species the hegemony had marked for extinction was almost unthinkable. But the alternative was to remain ignorant of technology that could erase her entire race from existence. Send a message to Earth, she said finally. Tell them the Xanthari request an audience. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place on 1,000 different worlds. On the religious world of Morden, High Priest Zekdar knelt before the altar of eternal conquest. For 3,000 years, his people had worshipped strength. Their religion taught that the strong were destined to rule the weak, that conquest was the highest form of devotion, that the universe itself favored those who took what they wanted by force. But how could such beliefs survive when faced with beings who could make the strong simply disappear? Great voice, he prayed, show us the meaning of these events. How can the weak defeat the strong? How can small defeat large? Can the impossible become real? Behind him, his temple filled with Vortok warriors who had come seeking answers. These were beings who had conquered their homeworld through pure savagery, who had built their civilization on the bones of their enemies. They had joined the hegemony because it offered them endless worlds to conquer. Now they faced an enemy that could conquer existence itself. High Priest, called War Leader Gratak, our fleets are requesting new orders. Do we attack the humans or not? Sektar was quiet for a long time. Finally, he stood and turned to face his people. Send word to all Vortok fleets. They are to power down their weapons and request safe passage out of human space. Fight an enemy that can make us never have existed. But High Priest, that goes against everything we believe. The strong must conquer the weak. Then perhaps, Zektar said slowly, we need to learn what strength really means. In the depths of space, Admiral Kethfer sat in his command chamber, staring at reports from across the hegemony. Fleet after fleet was requesting permission to withdraw from combat operations. Some were asking for diplomatic contact with Earth. Others were simply deserting their crews, refusing to fight an enemy that could erase them from time itself. The hegemony was falling apart. His communication panel chimed. A priority message from Hegemony Central Command on the capital world of Dominion Prime. Kethfar opened the channel, expecting to see Supreme Admiral Veltar, ordering him to continue the attack, regardless of losses. Instead, he saw chaos. Background showed emergency lights flashing and staff members running in panic. Veltar himself looked shaken, his usually perfect uniform disheveled. Admiral Kethfer Veltar said, I am ordering all hegemony fleets to cease hostile operations against the humans immediately. Kethfer blinked in surprise. Sir, are we surrendering? We are reassessing our position. Reports are coming in from across the galaxy. The Xanthari have requested a meeting with Earth scientists. The Vortak are withdrawing their fleets. 3 minor species have already asked to switch sides. Our empire is crumbling. But sir, it's only one ship. One impossible weapon. One weapon that can erase our entire civilization from existence, Beltar replied. Admiral, in 10,000 years of conquest, we have never faced anything like this. We built our empire on superior firepower and overwhelming numbers. What do we do when faced with an enemy that can make our firepower irrelevant and our numbers meaningless? Kethfer had no answer. In all his years of military service, he had never encountered a problem that could not be solved with enough ships and enough weapons. The humans had changed the fundamental nature of warfare itself. Sir, what are your orders? Contact the human fleet. Tell them we wish to discuss terms. Terms for what, sir? Beltar was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of 10,000 years of galactic history coming to an end. Terms for learning how to exist in a universe where humans can rewrite reality itself. Across the galaxy, the same realization was dawning on countless alien minds. Humanity had not just built a better weapon, they had broken the rules that had governed galactic civilization. Since the first species had reached for the stars, the age of conquest was over. The age of the impossible had begun, and at the center of it all, a single human ship continued its patrol of Earth's solar system, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, carrying weapons that could erase enemies from the timeline itself. The Paradox had become more than just a ship. It had become the symbol of a new kind of power, the power to make the unthinkable real and the real unthinkable. Captain Alina Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Paradox, watching something that had never happened before in galactic history. Outside the viewports, ships from 47 different alien species hung in space around Earth, their weapons powered. Down, their crews waiting. They had not come as conquerors. They had come as students. Captain. Lieutenant Park called from his station. We're receiving another request for sanctuary. This one is from a hegemony science vessel. They say they have information about quantum physics that they want to share. With us, Alina nodded. In the 3 days since the impossible battle at Jupiter, the stream of alien ships had not stopped. Warriors who had spent their lives conquering now came seeking knowledge. Scientists who had thought they understood the universe came asking to learn from humans who had broken its rules. Add them to the queue, she said. Dr. Webb will want to speak with them. On Earth below, the first Terran Academy of Quantum Sciences was already under construction. What had started as a secret weapons project was becoming something much larger. Alien engineers worked alongside human scientists, trying to understand technology that should not exist. Elena's communication panel chimed. Captain, this is Admiral Chen. Please report to Earth Command immediately. We have visitors. An hour. Later, Alina stood in the main conference room at Earth Command, facing the most unusual gathering in human history. At the head of the table sat Dr. Webb, looking exhausted but excited. Around the table were representatives from dozens of alien species, all trying to understand what humanity had done. Across from her sat Admiral Kethfer himself. The alien commander who had come to destroy Earth now wore the expression of someone whose entire worldview had collapsed. Captain Vasquez, Admiral Chen said, please tell our guests what it feels like to pilot the Paradox. Alina looked around the room at alien faces she had been trained to think of as enemies. But she saw no hatred there now. Only curiosity, fear, and something that might have been hope. It's like existing in every possible moment at once, she began. When I'm connected to the ship's systems, I can see all the different ways reality might unfold. I can see the paths where we fight and die, the paths where we fight and win, and the paths where we never fight at all. A Xene theory engineer leaned forward. But how do you choose which path becomes real? That's the strange part, Alina said. You don't really choose. The ship exists in quantum superposition until something forces reality to make a decision. When we fire our weapons, the universe has to pick which version of events actually happened. Master shipbuilder Voxara spoke up. This violates everything we know about physics. Matter and energy cannot simply be created or destroyed. Dr. Webb smiled tiredly. That's what we thought too. But humans have always had a problem with accepting limitations. When we were told that heavier-than-air flight was impossible, we built airplanes. When we were told that space travel was impossible, we built rockets. When the universe told us that certain things were impossible, we decided the universe was wrong. A Vortic priest, his scarred face showing confusion, asked, "But how did you know it would work?" "We didn't," Webb admitted. "We built the paradox based on theories that most scientists said were nonsense. We tested it in simulations that showed it should not function. We launched it into battle with no guarantee it would do anything except explode." "Then why did you try?" asked Admiral Kethfer. Webb was quiet for a moment. Then he looked around. The room had all the alien faces staring at him, because the alternative was extinction. And faced with impossible odds, humans don't give up. We get creative. Alina watched the aliens process this information. She could see them struggling to understand a species that would build weapons based on theories they weren't sure would work, that would bet their entire civilization on untested technology. "Admiral Kethfer," Admiral Chen said, "you asked to speak with us about the future. What did you want to say?" The alien commander straightened in his chair. "Admiral Chen, the hegemony has sent me to offer our formal surrender. But more than that, we wish to learn from you. Your species has shown us that our understanding of the universe was limited." "And what about conquest?" Alina asked. "What? About your empire that has ruled half the galaxy for 10,000 years? Kethfer looked uncomfortable. "Captain, we built our empire on the belief that strength meant having bigger ships and more powerful weapons. But you have shown us weapons that can erase our ships from existence, technology that makes size and number meaningless. We must reconsider our approach." High Priest Zekdar spoke up. "My people have worshipped strength for 3 millennia. But we have learned that true strength is not the power to destroy. It is the power to create the impossible." Dr. Webb leaned back in his chair. "So what happens now? We could use our technology to conquer the galaxy. Could erase any species that opposes us from the timeline itself." The room fell silent. Alina could feel the fear in the air. Every alien in the room knew that humanity now had the power to rewrite galactic history however they chose. "But we won't," Admiral Chen said finally. "Humanity doesn't want an empire. We want something better." "What do you want?" asked Foxera. "We want to build a galaxy where no one has to choose between submission and extinction, where differences are solved through understanding rather than warfare, where the impossible becomes possible not through conquest, but through cooperation." Alina looked around the room and saw something remarkable happening. Aliens who had spent their lives as enemies were nodding in agreement. Species that had been at war for centuries were beginning to see a different future. "The Terran Academy of Quantum Sciences will be open to all species," Dr. Webb announced. "We will teach anyone who wants to learn. We will share our impossible technology with those who promise to use it for creation rather than destruction." Admiral Kethfer stood slowly. "Admiral Chen, on behalf of the hegemony, I accept your terms. We surrender not just our fleets, but our old way of thinking." One by one, the other alien representatives stood and made similar declarations. The age of galactic conquest was ending not with a final battle, but with a shared decision to try something that had never been attempted before. Alina thought about the paradox, still orbiting Earth, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. It had been built as a weapon of war, but it had become something more important. A symbol that the impossible could be made real. And looking around the room at former enemies becoming allies, she realized that the greatest impossibility of all was happening right now: peace.